I don't have one on.
That's what you said yesterday, and you had a tab on it. You didn't.
He's in hard, let the hot takes burn. Protest on the trigger, riot in the thread. He talks over the chaos with a raised up head. Liberal, the point and clean. Letting the noise like a headline machine. Headline for the room, and he comes right back. Comes right back, and the whole beat snap. Here he comes, hands in the air, let the burning come. No more hush, no more shade. Spin City live and the whole place plays. Spin City, spin City, spin City, play it slow.
Good afternoon, Mr. Balderson. Good morning to you, sir. Oh, God.
You got to get that fixed.
I don't know why it's doing what it's doing. I like really don't know why it's doing what it's doing.
Totally off-putting. Totally off-putting.
Oh,
like
wow.
The two are just enough off of each other that it really is disturbing to listen to.
I don't know why it's doing that. Anyway, we've got something. It is the U.S. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche about the fraud takedowns.
This is mostly from like the medical type frauds, the one that Nick Shirley's concentrating on.
Yeah, it's pretty bad, Ben. It's pretty bad.
I'm in California. You ain't got to tell me.
I mean,
like literally, fucking Gavin Newsom fucking vetoed a bipartisan fucking audit because the fraud here is so bad. Even the Democrats want to audit it. Like even they're like, oh, well, a couple $100 million disappeared that were supposed to go to the homeless, and we can't seem to find it, and nothing happened good for the homeless. We would like to know where that money went, and fucking Newsom was like, no.
Yeah, right. I mean, this is absolutely insane. The amount of money that they are talking about, and they have caught
yesterday with some lady getting arrested for like $4 million in fraud.
Oh, this is even worse. So we're going to put it up here on the screen. We've got Mr. Salty Santa. Mr. Salty Santa in the back. Good afternoon. Good morning. What say you, sir?
Good morning. It's another fine day. Sunny out here. It's very nice.
It is always fun to have sunshine. We got Mr. Krautmick, Mr. Sauerkraut himself. Good morning, Mr. Kraut. How are you today, sir?
What up? Oh, I'm doing well, man. Easy day at work. I did some small shit. I'm on my best behavior today, fellas.
On your best behavior? Yeah, you better be. It'll cost you the big Rendono next time.
It's been a rough week
Understood.
for the panel behaviors.
It's okay. It's okay. We forgive people, but next time it will
Everybody
be
gets
big
one.
red dono. Santa.
I got fleeced last night.
You did not.
Ben's like, yeah, you did.
Okay, maybe I did, but whatever. We love you anyway, Salty. All right, we're gonna start this. We're gonna start this little shebang, and it's a good one. It's a good one.
Let's do it.
They're favorable.
Can't say I know who a fucking one of them people are. Finally, Kennedy shows up.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
Kennedy and Oz are there.
Today, we are here to announce the results of the 2026 National Healthcare Fraud Takedown. This announcement marks the greatest combined federal and state effort in combating healthcare fraud in history. Thanks to the leadership of President Trump and the Vice President and all those folks standing behind me and next to me, we are more united than ever before. This team is working tirelessly to take down fraudsters who steal from taxpayer-funded programs and prey on vulnerable Americans. When we talk about the team that's working on these cases, I want to give some context around that. There are 9 healthcare fraud strike forces that have been part of this effort, 57 U.S. attorneys' offices, 41 state attorney general's offices, not red states, not blue states, but both working together with the federal government. Multiple law enforcement agencies, including inspector generals, some of the agencies that are here with me on this stage. That's what we talk about when we say this is an all government approach to combating fraud. It's not just the Department of Justice. It's not just HHS. It's all government, including working with our state and local partners. Today, we are announcing federal and state charges, all of which were charged or unsealed at some point over the past 2 weeks, the past 14 days, coordinated nationwide action. Since June 8th, we've charged 455 defendants across 56, like I said a minute ago, U.S. attorneys' offices, and 45 U.S. states and territories. As alleged in the various indictments, these individuals participated in healthcare fraud schemes involving over $6.5 billion in false claims.
Holy
to Medicaid,
fuck.
Medicaid.
I
and other
told you,
healthcare
Ben.
programs.
I told
The
you.
team around me will get into more specifics, but here are a few points that stand out. In one indictment, we're bringing charges against a corporate executive in Arizona in connection to over a $1 billion fraud involving unnecessary wound grafts.
Wow.
This alleged scheme costs Medicare over $1 million per patient. In total, our indictment charges 11 defendants for over $2 billion in fraudulent claims in connection to alleged wound care schemes. The indictment also alleges that these individuals then used the taxpayer money to bankroll multi-million-dollar homes, luxury vehicles like $135,000 Maserati, jewelry like an $865,000 Bulgari necklace, and to top it all off, to fund the construction of a $4.6 million hotel at a beach resort in the Philippines. We're taking back the money,
Diversification.
the cars, the jewelry. And these alleged fraudsters will
Diversified.
face justice.
I have a strong
The
portfolio.
past 2 weeks have resulted in over $182 million in cash and other assets seized, making clear our healthcare fraud enforcement efforts generate a significant return on investment for our taxpayers. In terms of Medicaid fraud, we're able to announce today the creation of the West Coast Strike Force and the deployment of additional prosecutors, allowing us to bring charges against a record-setting 295 defendants. Our indictments allege over $518 million in Medicaid fraud between these individual defendants. You're going to hear from Director Patel in a moment, but apprehending alleged fraudsters remains a top priority of the Department of Justice and the FBI and our other law enforcement partners, including the DEA, who's here as well. At last year's takedown, a year ago, we charged multiple individuals for allegedly running a $10.6 billion medical equipment scheme using stolen identities to make false Medicare claims. Today, I can announce that earlier this month, we apprehended 2 of those defendants extradited from Estonia. Separately, over the weekend, we conducted the foreign transfer to custody of a defendant who is allegedly connected to another $3.7 billion in intended loss. I want to thank our tireless federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies who work hard every day and participated in these whole of government operations. This is just the beginning. Fraudsters can no longer rip off American taxpayers. If you seek to harm or cheat Americans, we will find you, seize any assets, and prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law. Thank you very much. I'm going to turn it over now to Secretary Kennedy. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney General Blanche, and thank you to the White House Fraud Task Force, to Colin McDonald of the Justice Department, to Director Kash Patel of the FBI, to the HHS Office of Inspector General, Dr. Oz and the CMS team, and the investigators and law enforcement officers who brought these cases forward. President Trump directed this administration to confront healthcare fraud aggressively, and we are doing that. The 2026 National Healthcare Fraud Takedown uncovered $6.5 billion in alleged fraud, the second largest amount ever charged in a single healthcare fraud operation.
The second largest.
A record number of Medicaid fraud defendants.
It's crazy.
440 defendants now face charges. This effort brought together federal agencies, state partners, and U.S. territories across the United States. 18 of the participating states, as Attorney General Blanche.
U.S. territories across the United States.
Fraud does not recognize party lines, and neither does accountability. Today's cases include the largest Medicaid fraud enforcement action Department of history, 165 defendants charged with allegedly submitting more than $200 million in false claims to Medicaid. These schemes did not target government programs, they targeted the American taxpayer. They stole money from workers who pay taxes, from families who depend on Medicare and Medicaid, and from patients who trusted their healthcare professionals to be serving their health interests when it turns out they were just chasing money from our agencies. The allegations in these cases are particularly disturbing. Some defendants allegedly ordered medically unnecessary tests. Others prescribed products that patients did not need. Some allegedly fueled opioid addiction to increase their own revenue. In certain cases, patients allegedly died while believing they were receiving legitimate medical care from providers who only viewed them as billing opportunities. These defendants did not simply break the law, they violated the trust that patients place in medical professionals. One of today's indictments charged a hospice owner in Los Angeles area and 2 marketers in a $27.7 million Medicare fraud scheme. According to the indictment, the owner paid illegal kickbacks to obtain personal information of deceased Medicare beneficiaries. One of the ways that Colin and Dr. Oz have been chasing down hospice fraud, we've closed now 800 hospices in LA. And one of the ways that we've been able to detect that fraud is that in many of them, the patients never die. They live forever. That's not supposed to happen in hospices. And this particular owner was actually going out and purchasing names from coroners of dead patients and then billing us for those, making it appear that some of his patients were actually finally dying. And while taxpayers funded these false claims, the owner purchased a Rolls-Royce Phantom. That case illustrates at stake. Every fraudulent dollar diverted into
He ain't even fucking around, gone for the rolls.
or patient care, for medical innovation, or for services for vulnerable Americans. During the Biden administration, my predecessor implemented 2 reforms at HHS. One of those was the so-called pay and chase system. We know when billing, when invoices come into my agency, we can tell that some of them are fraudulent or probably fraudulent. And the new system said, we're not going to stop those payments. We want everybody paid, and then we'll claw them back at the end. It was called pay and chase. And when I asked people, the careers at HHS, how could you do this? This is crazy, because of course we never claw back anything. They said that they were told to focus on enrollment and not fraud. Wow. The other thing that they did is to liquidate our program integrity office. So when my predecessor came into office, there were 80 people in program integrity, which is not enough. It's 50 states and 5 territories. And when I got in, there was only 6 left. So all of those people were transferred or let go, and we were literally doing no program integrity. And that opened up the floodgates for all of this fraud. $100 billion in fraud a year that are being stolen now from my agency. The federal government paid claims first and chased fraud after the money was out the door. And that approach, of course, failed taxpayers. We are ending it. HHS is replacing the old pay and chase system with a detect and prevent strategy.
And we wonder why our country is in so much debt.
Ever leave the Treasury. We are deploying advanced artificial intelligence.
It's just quinky dink.
Fraudulent billing patterns in real time, stop improper payments before they occur, and strengthen oversight across federal health programs. Our objective is straightforward: to stop the fraud before it happens. The people charged today should understand that we will continue expanding these capabilities, strengthening enforcement, and pursuing every credible allegation of fraud. If you exploit patients for profit, if you steal Medicaid or Medicare dollars, if you treat taxpayer dollars as your personal bank account, we will investigate you, we will build the case, and we will bring you to justice. We will find fraud, we will stop it, we will recover taxpayer dollars whenever the law permits, and we will restore integrity to the programs that millions of Americans rely on for their care. Thank you, and I now want to introduce Colin McDonald from the Justice Department.
Thank you, Secretary Kennedy. Today's record healthcare fraud charges and arrests makes clear that there is no case too big, no scheme too complex, and no hiding place too remote for our fraud-fighting team. In just 14 days, 455 defendants have been charged across the country for schemes involving over $6.5 billion in fraud. Under the leadership of President Trump, Vice President Vance, and Attorney General Blanche, the Department of Justice is aggressively scaling our offensive against anyone using healthcare as a front to steal from the American people. But today's cases allege more than the theft of taxpayer dollars. Many allege the theft of human dignity. Our sick, needy, and elderly, placing their faith in the gift of medicine, were neglected, ignored, and used for personal profit. For example, one defendant is charged with conspiring to submit approximately 89 million in false and fraudulent claims for cardiovascular tests. This defendant allegedly used marketing tactics designed to prey on fears that student athletes could die from sudden cardiac arrest. He then allegedly rubber-stamped test results as normal without reviewing them. Despite one patient's test results showing an enlarged heart, the defendant allegedly signed off on the test results within approximately 11 seconds of accessing the 63 test result images. As a result, the student was cleared to play, and he suffered sudden cardiac arrest and died on the basketball court just weeks later. That is why we cannot and
What's up, Tootie?
tolerate fraud in healthcare. How are we going about targeting fraud in healthcare? We are following the data. Data talks and data doesn't lie. It identifies where fraud is happening and unmasks the perpetrators driving it. For example, our data analytics team observed a dramatic spike in payments for allografts from less than 1 billion in 2021 to over 14 billion just 4 years later. Our resulting investigations have led to criminal charges against 11 defendants across 6 districts for allograft fraud, including a company executive and 8 medical professionals. What happened here, to be clear, was not medicine. The defendants in these schemes purchased allografts for $30 to $75, inflated the price up to nearly 50 times that cost with the tab picked up by the taxpayers, and then secretly gave lucrative kickbacks for allografts applied. Marketers and nurses who took kickbacks targeted vulnerable hospice patients, making in many instances over $1 million per patient. These allograft fraud charges are the result of just one of our many data-driven initiatives. We are announcing today the first prosecution arising out of our Financial Intelligence Review Team, a cutting-edge effort to combine traditional data analytics with financial information. In less than 7 months, after identifying a suspicious behavioral health provider in Illinois, we brought charges against a defendant for a $67 million Medicaid fraud scheme. The defendant allegedly billed Medicaid for providing behavioral health services to patients who received no services and were actually even hospitalized at entirely separate health facilities at the time of the billings. Today is just the beginning of a new era of healthcare fraud enforcement. The Fraud Division's Healthcare Fraud Unit, which led today's nationwide takedown, is one of the best investments across the government, saving $106 for every dollar spent. And with the whole of government laser focused on rooting out fraud, under the leadership of the White House Task Force to Eliminate Fraud, we are rapidly enhancing our fraud.
That sounds like something your wife tells you right before she goes shopping. We're going to save $106 for every dollar I spend.
Great. Space in the CMS's cloud environment to run real-time advanced analytical models to detect fraud. We are also announcing agreements with the Federal Trade Commission.
Well, just to keep it balanced, that's what I would say before I buy computers.
And enrich our algorithms. And we're coordinating with prosecutors, agents, and analysts from across state and federal government at a scale and scope that has never before existed until today. The era of getting rich off America's healthcare system is over. If you defraud the American people and put profit over patients, we will do everything we can to put you in prison. I'll now turn the podium over to a critical partner in our fight against fraud, Director Kash Patel.
Thank you. America, you should take a look. You should take a look at what leadership from the White House and the President Trump's prioritization to go after and combat fraud looks like. America should take a look at the Vice President's task force and the initiative by the Justice Department here under AG Todd Blanche and AAG Colin McDonald. Fraud is no longer being tolerated, it is not being put up with. And you've seen the staggering numbers that in just the last 2 weeks, that's all we're here to talk about today, is just the last 2 weeks of fraud, of perpetrators and criminals who have been arrested and apprehended from around the world, totaling over $6 and $7 billion in fraud, in money stolen from the American people. Our precious taxpayer dollars that are supposed to service our seniors and our kids were being stolen outright by individuals who thought they could get away with it. But thanks to the Trump administration and the Vice President's task force and the White House task force and Department of Justice's courageous prosecutors, we have now been able to charge a record number of individuals. I just want to go over a couple of things. One such individual, the FBI is responsible for what we call foreign transfer of custodies, FTOCs. Last week, the FBI executed 4 FTOCs on 4 separate continents in 24 hours. We did this because we had the backing of the White House and the U.S. government and the Department of Justice to go out and apprehend criminals wherever they are. One such individual related to fraud was apprehended in Turkey thanks to the relationships and partnerships between Ambassador Tom Barrack and the Turkish government. Mr. Hilmi was arrested after perpetrating a multi-billion-dollar fraud in Turkey, apprehended and transferred back to the United States of America while he faced prosecution. I also want to highlight the Vice President's brilliant idea to put together a most wanted fraudsters list. The FBI has always had our top 10 most wanted fugitive list. But in 2 weeks ago, I think we were all in Ohio, where we announced our most wanted fraudsters list. And in just the last 2 weeks, thanks to the help of the American people in the world, we have apprehended 2 of the most wanted fraudsters already. One of those individuals, Herbert Leon Kimball, was apprehended in the Philippines. He's an American citizen. He had been bilking, allegedly, the system against Medicaid for billions of dollars since 2014, $1.2 billion in telemedicine specifically alone. That individual was apprehended in the Philippines and transported back to the United States of America, where he will now face justice. This is the reach of the United States government. This is the reach of this team, the interagency and state and local partners focused on one mission and one mission alone: to combat fraud and make sure the American public's precious taxpayer dollars go where they're supposed to go, to the American people that need them the most, and not to these criminals who are stealing from us day in and day out. Those days are over, and this should showcase to the world the length that we will go as an interagency and as a task force to apprehend and arrest and bring to justice anyone who steals our dollars that are meant for our most vulnerable citizens. We're also going to ask what we did in Ohio a couple of weeks ago, and we'll circulate it on social media later. We're adding 2 more individuals to the most wanted fraudster list. I said then, and I've said it before, the American people in the world are our best sources of information. There is no such thing as bad information. So if you have any information on Khalid Sitari, who is wanted for a $547 million genetic testing scheme and will be hiding in the United Arab Emirates, call 1-800-CALL-FBI, 1-800-CALL-FBI. Let us know. You saw what we did in just 2 weeks by apprehending 2 of the most wanted fraudsters. With your help, we will apprehend the rest of them. The last one is Emily Tai, who's also wanted in connection with a genetic testing scheme for allegedly stealing $90 million. And she was previously on an ankle monitor and fled, we believe, to Vietnam. So if the American public or anyone in the world has information on Emily Tai, please call 1-800-CALL-FBI. We need your information. We need your help. And you have now seen what we can collectively do as an interagency under the Attorney General's brilliant leadership and the prioritization at the White House, that fraud will not be tolerated, that fraud perpetrators will be apprehended, not just across the United States of America, but from the 4 corners of the world. So we plead with you to give us any and all information that you have. And again, the only type of bad information is the one that we don't receive from you. So please call 1-800-CALL-FBI with any information on any of the fraudsters on our most wanted list. And this should be a clear message to the world that the FBI, along with our interagency partners, are not tolerating fraud anymore. And we will chase them down just like we chase down terrorists, narco traffickers, gangbangers, and those that wish to do harm to our communities, because this type of harm is equally as harmful to our most vulnerable. Thank you. And I now turn it over to our brilliant partner, Dr. Oz.
I'm going to put my doctor's hat on here. There's 2 issues that we have not gone into in detail, but they've been mentioned by many. The first is affordability. The $100 billion that Secretary Kennedy mentioned is stolen from Medicare and Medicaid. If we were able to just take that out of what's being stolen from Medicare, would double the life expectancy of the Medicare Trust Fund. It massively changes what people pay when we tolerate this kind of fraud. The second big message, again, is that costs matter. They matter a lot. And they're measured oftentimes in ways that we can put on signs. But the actual cost is that of human health and the lives of humans hurt by these fraudsters, because they don't care about you. If they're willing to steal your money when you're down and out and struggling and you're vulnerable, they will definitely take your health and take your life if that's required. Today's actions are the results of months of painstaking collaboration by law enforcement agencies represented on this stage. The U.S. Attorney, of course, the White House Anti-Fraud Task Force, the FBI, HHS OIG, CMS colleagues, all of us worked tirelessly towards one goal, making sure that people who steal from Medicare and Medicaid face real consequences, because it scares away future perpetrators. As Secretary Kennedy mentioned, the general approach has been slow, meandering, and non-consequential for fraudsters, which is why after COVID, they rushed into this space. CMS's role in this partnership has fundamentally changed because of the nature of the fraudsters. We now use techniques that historically were never thought of. Instead of just flagging problems, we build cases. Under the leadership of Secretary Kennedy, we've created a stellar team at CMS, fraud fighters, including Kim Brandt and Janine Ugo and others, who brilliantly reinvent how we catch these criminals. And by the time our law enforcement partners are ready to move, we aim to hand them a file that is already complete, already ready, supported by payment suspensions and provider revocations, funding deferrals, real-time fraud detection that never existed before. Now, the numbers tell the story. I'm going to give you two really important ones. The first is, in the first quarter of last year, we revoked billing privileges for fraudsters of 106 providers. Pretty good result, we thought, at the time. This same period this year, the first quarter, we made 1,400 revocations. That's a 40% increase over last year. So 40% more revocations. We also have payment suspensions where we just don't pay the bill because we don't think it's legitimate. This is impressive. The first half of this year, we made 1,000 Medicare payment suspensions. 1,000. That's a lot of people. Nearly 800, by the way, from one state, California. For a similar period last year, we made 219 suspensions. So a
go figure, California
payment suspensions, because we're using
just the nature of the size of the state.
These efforts brand
right.
all kinds of
how much money, how many people.
The fraud war room that has been put together is a purpose-built
tool. Gavin Newsom in the diaper scandal.
Neutralize bad actors, often from foreign countries, much more effectively than
I think it's because of the number of vegetables.
DOT brings prosecutorial firepower, law enforcement brings investigative tools, CMS brings data, the analytics, we use administrative muscle to push things through, and we are closing loopholes that fraudsters have avoided and been exploiting for years. Those days are over. Fraudsters, your time is up. Now, speaking of fraudsters, I want to highlight an important case that drives home what everyone on the stage really feels deeply in our heart. Kim, if you can be, since Kim Brandt that I mentioned earlier, just bring that poster of the young man up. This young man has been referred to already. His name is Caden Francis. I spoke to his mother last night. Kim, just bring it up if you don't mind.
Like medical taxes and stuff.
Looks like a pretty good athlete. This young man was involved in a scheme run by fraudsters, including doctors, a cardiovascular testing company whose medical director approved EKGs and echocardiograms, as was mentioned earlier by Colin, in as little as 11 seconds.
Yeah, there's got to be signs.
The EKG was taken. His parents were told he was fine. The doctor, we believe, from the moment he got the image to said it was fine was 11 seconds. The parents who had been marketed to, claiming that their kid might be at risk, were therefore told the kid was fine, when in fact nothing had been done. The October EKG was read as normal. The kid was dead a month later. Now, I talked to the mom, of course, still in pain. The family was told the tests were normal. Unfortunately, and despite all these internal communications that we revealed, which acknowledged by the company that they knew these were not normal tests and they had done something terribly wrong, they kept doing it. So that kid was hurt irreparably, passed away because nothing was done about these fraudsters, and they went right after it. Their company billed over $90 million while a child was buried by their family. No remorse whatsoever. Caden's mother wanted me to give you a quote. I'm going to read it exactly as she gave it to me. The doctor is as bad as any greedy criminal who is killing people in the streets. I hope he rots in jail so no one else is hurt, but my son will never come back to me. That's the real human costs that we were speaking of on the stage. Julian, the mother, shared the autopsy and revealed that her son's heart was 2.5 times normal. Instead of being this big, I'm a heart surgeon, that's a normal size heart, the size of your fist, 2.5 times larger than that. There is no way you could miss that, except they didn't care. That's why mom runs them to rot in hell. This is not a diagnostic company. It's a predatory scheme dressed up in medical clothing, and we're going to treat it as such. We've got a couple big breakthroughs. Let me put them in some of these numbers to at least give you some confidence that the pay and chase model that CMS had relied on, that Secretary Kennedy spoke to, has been abandoned. And instead, we don't want the money going out the back door. We want the fraud detected as soon as it happens, and we can stop it that way. In original Medicare so far, in the year of 2025, we've done a remarkable job. In 2024, before he came in, we saved about 60% less money than this. So total amount of money saved last year, $42 billion. That's a return on investment of $22 for every dollar that we pulled back for the American taxpayer. 2/3 of those savings, $28 billion, came from simply locking the front door, never letting the money go out the door. That's provider revocations, automated claim denials, all the things that should have been done years ago. That no longer will that money be taken out of your pocketbooks. We achieved this with only a 5% increase in Medicare program integrity spending. This is the best way for us to spend your tax dollars wisely. The Medicaid side is more difficult because states run Medicaid, but we've been on that as well. Savings reached $4 billion last year. That's a 165 increase over the prior year. And that we did that actually by spending 7% less money. So we spent less money, brought in more fraudsters, saved you a lot more money. These results don't happen by accident. They reflect a deliberate strategic shift in how CMS operates, and they show what's possible when agencies stop working in silos and start working as partners, like the White House Anti-Fraud Task Force has been able to achieve. Jetson Leader Lewis, Jake Foster, OIG Leader March Bell, Rebecca Yuan. There's lots of other people in the room right now who deserve a lot of credit. All of us agree with the president and the vice president that the best prescription for a fraudster is prosecution. The era of champagne on private jets is over. No longer will champagne and private jets be paid for by the American taxpayer. Andrew Ferguson leads that White House Anti-Fraud Task Force together with Colin McDonald and the vice president. I asked him to come up and say a few words.
Thank you, Dr. Oz. President said he wanted a whole of government approach to combating healthcare fraud and fraud across all our benefits programs, and this is the result. Every major leader in this space from the federal government is standing up here, and all have contributed in critically important ways to this effort. Investigators, prosecutors, healthcare specialists, the leadership at HHS and at CMS have made today possible. I also want to thank Jake Foster and his team, Justin Woodward and Rebecca Uya at DOJ at the healthcare fraud unit that has broken records with today's effort, not just in their own prosecutions, but in harnessing the power of the U.S. attorneys and state attorneys general to make today possible. The vice president has always said we have to take a two-pronged approach to this. We have to stop the money from getting out of the agencies. Administrator Oz and Secretary Kennedy have talked about that. And then we have to impose consequences on people that have defrauded the American government. And we've been saying that we're doing this to save these programs from the fraud that is bleeding them dry, that will make them unavailable in the future for future generations, to protect the investment, the trillions of dollars of investment that every American taxpayer makes every single year to help their friends, their neighbors, and strangers in times of need. But I also, like Dr. Oz, I want to talk about the real human toll of this for a minute. I want to talk about skin substitutes or allografts. 5 years ago, Medicare was paying out less than $1 billion every year in allografts and skin substitutes. By 2025, almost $15 billion. These programs were riddled with fraud. And yes, that's a problem because it takes money out of all of our pockets and puts it into the hands of the worst people on the planet. But this doesn't just affect all of us. These frauds affect individual American citizens in horrifying ways. We saw this, for example, in Minnesota, where a program designed to protect veterans from homelessness was so attacked by fraudsters, they had to shut the thing down because they couldn't afford it anymore. I want to talk about a particular case that the department is indicted today out of the District of Nevada, where a nurse practitioner is accused of having bilked Medicaid for almost $1 billion in skin substitute allografts. But this isn't just filing fake claims and trying to take money out of our pockets. She was performing these skin substitute procedures on vulnerable elderly Americans in hospices and in nursing homes, and then submitting those claims. She was using human beings, American citizens, as living piggy banks, and that she took the money she got from those living piggy banks and she bought $865,000 necklaces that the department seized. She bought a almost $500,000 Ferrari that the department also seized. We've heard a lot about the numbers today. We've heard how many records have been broken by the Department of Justice's and HHS's incredible efforts today. But the numbers shouldn't be treated as an abstraction. This doesn't just affect the whole country as taxpayers. Real human beings, American citizens, are physically maimed because of this fraud. So shutting down this fraud, killing these incentives for people to commit fraud, putting people in jail to commit these frauds aren't just about protecting the fisc. They're not just about protecting the program. They are about protecting our fellow American citizens from the worst of us. That is why this is so important. That's why the vice president assembled this task force at the president's direction. And this is the result. The entire federal government deploying all of its resources at home and abroad to end the fraud and to protect American citizens. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to DEA Administrator Terry Cole.
Thank you, and Mr. Attorney General. Good morning, sir. We stand here today united to share the commitment to protect Americans and save American lives. It's been said, but bears repeating, healthcare fraud is not just a financial crime. It's a public safety threat, a public health threat, and a direct threat to the trust the Americans place in our healthcare system. Let me be clear. Medical providers who fuel addiction, endanger lives, and profit from pain they cause are no different than any other drug trafficker. DEA occupies a unique place in this fight. We sit at the intersection of healthcare, regulation, and law enforcement. Our job is to protect the controlled substance supply chain and stop those who seek to exploit it. The CSA created a closed system of distribution, one designed to keep medications available for legitimate care while preventing diversion and abuse. Every link in that chain has a responsibility to protect patients and to preserve trust in the system. Being a DEA registrant is not just a privilege. It is a responsibility. It is a promise to patients that medical decisions will be based on clinical judgment, not financial gain. While the vast majority of healthcare professionals honor that promise, criminals have found ways to exploit the system for personal gain. As both a law enforcement and regulatory agency, DEA sees things others don't. We connect the dots between drug diversion, fraud, and criminal activity. And when we find those abusing positions of trust, we act. We use every authority available, criminal, civil, and administrative, to protect patients and preserve trust in our nation's healthcare system. In this takedown alone, DEA developed 18 criminal and civil cases in coordination with U.S. attorneys' offices and issued a record 928 administrative actions to prevent future harm. This includes 205 orders to show cause, 53 immediate suspensions, and 642 surrenders for cause. In one case we worked with our partners, we uncovered $36 million in Medicaid fraud, resulting in the seizure of $15 million in U.S. currency, 6 aircrafts from a single physician. In another case, we identified a pillar of a pill mill, clinics operating, that were issuing more than 2 million oxycodone prescriptions and over 900,000 hydrocodone prescriptions. Each scheme chips away at the safeguards put into place to ensure every patient gets the medication they need safely and lawfully. Americans should never have to wonder whether a prescription was written because it was needed or because someone saw an opportunity to profit. Our message to any medical provider who abuses that trust is simple. If you choose personal greed over professional responsibility, DEA will hold you accountable. DEA has been entrusted to save American lives. We will not stand idle while criminals exploit patience, abuse positions of trust, and put profit over people. Thank you. And now I'd like to welcome HSI Matt Mulholland.
Good morning. My name is Matthew Mulholland. I'm the Acting Deputy Executive Associate Director of Homeland Security Investigations, the principal investigative arm of the Department of Homeland Security. Today's announcement marks a pivotal moment in our nation's ongoing fight against healthcare fraud, a crime that steals from American taxpayers, that puts vulnerable patients at risk. As part of the Department of Homeland Security, HSI is proud to stand alongside our partners in this historic effort. HSI's mission is clear: to safeguard the American public and economy from criminal organizations and individuals who seek to exploit our benefits system for personal gain. Healthcare fraud undermines trust in our healthcare system and diverts resources from those who need them most. This year's National Healthcare Fraud Takedown is the largest in history, with 455 defendants charged across 45 states and territories, and more than $6.5 billion in alleged fraud uncovered. HSI plays a critical role in investigating the transnational criminal networks behind this fraud, identifying and apprehending fugitives overseas, and disrupting schemes that span across borders. Our special agents, working closely with the Department of Justice, HHS, the FBI, the DEA, our local and state and international partners, demonstrated extraordinary dedication and expertise, using advanced data analytics and financial intelligence to follow money, seize assets, and ensure accountability at every level. Their commitment, collaboration, and innovation have made today's results possible. Together, we've shown that no criminal, no matter how sophisticated or well hidden, can evade the reach of the U.S. government. HSI remains steadfast in its commitment to protecting the American people, defending the integrity of our nation's financial infrastructure, and ensuring that those who abuse it are held accountable. Today's actions send a powerful message. If you target our healthcare programs, you will be found, you will be prosecuted, and you will be brought to justice. Thank you.
All right, thanks everybody. We'll take a couple questions on what we're here for today. If you want to hear from somebody in particular on stage, just feel free to lead with that.
What do you guys think of that?
Surprising.
I am like, I'm speechless. I am freaking speechless.
Well, and the presentation in the beginning was discussing the amount of bipartisan cooperation with AJs and other medical directors, I'm assuming, in local states. Do they have any publication for that to see how bipartisan it really is?
No, but I have another picture that I want to put up on the screen of all the fraudsters that they were talking about.
Okay. Put them on a list of shame.
And this is on the FBI's website. Is that not correct, Mr. B?
Wow.
So when you click on the pictures, it shows you, and then it tells you what they're wanted for. Khalid Ahmed Satari, $547 million in healthcare fraud. I mean, I'll drop the link in the chat if anybody wants to look at it. But
yeah, well,
and you can print these posters and you can put them up. places.
I definitely get that. You know, this kind of shit's gonna happen. I just don't understand how somebody gets up to that kind of money, including the one guy they said was literally over $1 billion. How the fuck do you make it to $1 billion without ever getting noticed?
I have no idea. It's
Like,
like
that's
absolutely
absolutely
sickening. It's
Well, one of
absolutely
them-
sickening.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I heard at one point in that it was because of policy changes in somebody's.
Yeah, I heard that they were supposed to concentrate on bringing people in rather than looking for fraud. But $1 billion fucking dollars, that's like Godzilla in your fucking accounting. Yeah, you know, like how do you not notice that?
Maybe
I don't remember. Did they get the money back or did they arrest him?
I didn't hear nothing about them getting all, which I
heard
just
at
don't
one
even
point no
hardly imagine.
clawbacks. Oh, I think my speaker's bad. I'm sorry, I spoke over you too. Hold on.
Boulder.
Yo.
I think I might have an answer to your question, and it's fucking crazy. I'm not saying it happened, but this is possible. The Republican Party may have known. They may have known about the Democrats scanning the Medicare system, but much like a store lets an individual keep stealing until they accumulate thousands of dollars worth of property that they stole, maybe that's what the Republicans did to try to make it where it's a lot fucking worse. You know what I'm trying to say? Like they may have allowed it.
I don't see how waiting until $1 billion in theft is going to particularly help anything. Like $1 billion fucking dollars just from one person, $1 billion.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That seems really unrealistic. When we were just talking a couple days ago about Iran's national debt, they're only fucking $250 fucking billion in debt. Like that guy could have paid off a portion of Iran's national debt. Get the fuck out of here.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Like I don't see how. I understand what Kraut's saying with that they're, you know, trying to, and then also, you know, dragging it out. You find out who else is involved, things like that. I get that, but a fucking $1 billion.
I just don't understand how people or the government just pays this shit.
I mean, the dude was driving a Rolls Royce around. Who the fuck hits Rolls Royces or what fucking like the fucking Saudi oil kings drive around?
Well, that guy Osho drove one around, or like a fleet of 30 of them.
Must be nice to have that kind of freaking money.
Well, that dude was selling spirituality.
Right.
To go on stage with his diamond studded glasses. Osho is so fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. That Osho was his new name. What was his name before?
Rajid.
Yeah.
It's like Rajneesh. Rajneesh. Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah,
hold on.
I'll look it up.
I'm pulling it up.
Yeah, I see people all the time talking about like Republicans are for the rich and they just create, you know, fucking frauds so that it can benefit the rich. Most fucking rich people are actually Democrats, so like that doesn't even make fucking sense. It goes against their entire fucking argument.
It all depends on what arena you're looking in, Kraut. So, and this has been a real big thing since Obamacare. The Democrats are basically sellouts to the medical industry. And on the flip side, the Republicans are sellouts to like the military industrial complex and the
I would agree with that. Well, not the oil, but yeah, I'm kind of a sellout to the military, and I can give my answer after you're done.
Like you look historically, Cheney and Bush got in all kinds of trouble for all the fraud that they had and all the fucking back fucking scratching that they were doing during the Iraq war, during the Afghanistan stuff. That's where the Republicans get their things. Like Dick Cheney made hundreds of millions of dollars, and like after he got out as fucking vice president, immediately went back onto his executive position at Halliburton and was given a giant fucking a giant bonus. Why? Because of all the nice things that he passed while he was vice president.
Yeah.
So it just depends on both sides have their own slush funds and their own fraud. And right now the Republicans are going hard after the Democrat fraud. But if you think that they don't have their own, you're fucking nuts.
No, yeah, I'm well aware they do, but it's a complicated situation. But yeah, I know what you mean by Republicans are sellouts to the military. Now, where I stand with that, I have no problem paying a little extra in taxes to keep our military strong and to afford the research to go in the military.
That's not what you're talking. That's not what you're talking. That's not what we're talking about, though, Kraut. Nobody's saying that the military
what are you talking?
Have power. And nobody's saying that the military.
Are you talking about funneling money through military programs?
Absolutely. We're talking about fucking $100 hammers and fucking $50 rolls of toilet paper that the military pays because there's so much fraud in that system.
That's true.
There's also a bit of a misunderstanding about that. There's a weird way that they do accounting for determining how much something costs. They essentially look at the entire manifest for whatever's being shipped.
Yeah.
And it gets calculated out like that. Because I mean, if you think about it, it makes sense, right? You're not just buying a hammer. You now have to transport it logistically. There's going to be hands on it. So you have to hire people, right? So they're factoring in the true cost. If you factor in the true cost of stuff you buy at the grocery store, it's definitely more than the sticker price. Sorry, hold on a second.
Go ahead, Brent. And I don't disagree with what Ant's saying right there.
Right.
But I also would state that they use that same program to commit a lot of fraud. That there's
I gotta roll to the restaurant. I'll be right back, Ben.
I don't totally disagree. Yeah, there is definitely fraud, waste. I mean, ostensibly it's looked into and tracked, but yeah, it happens. It happens in every fucking system that involves money and whatever.
Yeah.
And every transaction's probably adding some overhead as well.
Where this comment started at was Kraut was talking about that the Democrats are the fraudsters, and I stated that the different parties use different venues for their fraud.
Yeah.
Where
they both, to think that they're not both doing it's naive. Like
exactly.
Well, no, I'm aware they're both doing, but let me clarify. I stated that in the comments, people keep on talking about how we're for the Republicans because they get tax credits to all the rich. What I said was most rich people are Democrats, so it kind of goes against their fucking argument. Now, I'm aware there's obviously rich Republicans, especially in the 1% of the 1%. And I'm fully aware both parties have fucking schemes, you know? Yeah. It's like, but the question, how do we combat both? Do we do it at the same time, or do we combat one party's schemes and then after we do our best to get rid of all that, go against the other party? That's a real question.
Huh.
I don't think as long as these two parties stay in power that there's any way of actually combating it effectively. I think that until we get an independent party in there to come do the auditing that has no political affiliations, or we get more parties, this is just going to be a back and forth thing. And the thing that they aren't talking about here, which has been running our country for a long time, is mutual destruction. So they realize that if they give away too much, they need to give away enough to bleed the other side. But if they give away too much, it opens up the whole Pandora's box, and then they're all in trouble. And none of them want that. They like their monies.
Well, and it seems like they would engage in the you take your turn pointing fingers, and then
Yeah.
we'll take our turn.
Yeah.
Then we all get fed.
Which But even so, no matter what, $1 billion of fraud out of one person, that's fucking insanity. Like, how do you allow that level of fraud funneled through one very small person and not ever fucking take note of it to the tune of $1 billion?
Well, just as, you know, thinking about computers and automated processing of things, there might not have been the code or review processes to look for it. Seems nonsensical, but I would assume it's possible.
Well, it seems like you should be able to get away with these things to some degree. You know, that
seems like a big degree.
You're moving all that, so much money. You know, you can, just like on the Office movie, where they're just pinching off a little bit off each transaction or whatever. You could definitely make a ton of money and be barely noticeable. $1 billion.
It'd be interesting to know over how much time they may have said, and I wasn't recalling.
I mean, I guarantee that there's countries in the world right now that don't have $1 billion GDP.
Yeah,
guaranteed.
Yeah. And to think about where that's really taking services away from other people in aggregate, I don't know really what it is by percentage, but
well, and my fear is that this is going to make it, because whenever the government does something like this, they make it worse on the normal people.
Right.
Like fucking, so then they're like, when they're talking about that, they're starting to reject cases out the front end. You guarantee that in the next year or two, we're going to hear about a lot of people that needed help that got rejected on the front end because of this.
Yeah, definitely. And
there's 12 sovereign nations with a gross domestic product of under $1 billion.
Is Myanmar or whatever the new name one of those?
Let's see here.
It's probably going to be like your Polynesian countries. And
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it looks like Polynesian and African mostly.
Yep, that tracks.
You got like Tonga, Micronesia, but you get the idea. There's a dozen countries that made less money last year. The whole goddamn country that this one dude did. Like, what the fuck do you mean?
Yeah. Maybe it's a combination of what you were saying, like, you know, Office Space or whatever it is, where it's siphoning off little bits on the through process. And there's no real review on the input process. So the accumulation of both of those to that one account would add up, depending on how many people were served.
$1 billion to this one doctor. That is absolutely shocking.
Well, when I had the tumor in my head, each one of my high contrast CTs with double gold level insurance, very fine, solid insurance, my copay was still $500 for each. And then my sister needs a surgery for her eye, solid insurance, not as insured. And her eye surgery, the copay is $17,000.
Holy shit. What the hell are they doing?
That is breaking.
Yeah. I believe it was not corneal. I don't remember the anatomy of the eye, but I think they were replacing the lenses. I'm sorry.
Cornea replacement. Okay.
Yeah.
That is a breaking amount of money. That is not a speed bump. We need to tighten our belt for a month, amount of money. That is a breaking amount of money. That's go fucking get a second loan on your house amount of money.
No, 17,000. That's a car. That's
Well,
a cheap car.
Yeah, a car that you buy. How many people buy cars?
I'm not saying it's a lot of
cash,
money. I'm not saying it's not a lot of money, but you're exaggerating. It's not a house or a house payment.
Well, I wonder if the life.
Dude, $20,000. Most people I know come up with $20,000 are gonna have to go take a fucking equity loan off of their house.
Possibly. That would be probably the least expensive way to do it. You could get other loans, but they'd be
Yeah. Who wants to use credit cards and shit like that to fucking come up with that kind of money?
20K is a little too high for that. Like, you don't want, unless you
What is
have the means to pay it off quickly.
Yeah, what is it? 30% on half these credit cards at this point?
Yeah, even if you've got 700 plus credit, you're paying that.
Mine's under 15%. But
yeah, I was going to say
I still wouldn't want to put $20,000 on it.
No.
Yeah, no, not even at 15%. That's insanity.
Look, here's the thing. Used to be that people would just deal with going blind slowly and gradually. We can fix it.
That's what I would do.
But it's going to cost money because there's a lot of labor and stuff involved with doing this procedure. Could we make it cheaper? I bet we absolutely could. I don't know exactly how, but I've looked at the medical system somewhat and gone, this is not operating efficiently. This is operating for the benefit of hospitals and insurance companies. What we need less regulation in some areas, like importing drugs. Like
that's the one.
We I don't know whose bright idea it was. It was great for the pharma companies. It was fucking terrible for us, limiting drug imports, that is. Now the world benefits from us developing the drugs and getting really cheap generics, and we don't get to benefit from it.
Yeah.
Or at least not for 10 years or whatever.
It's something ridiculous. It's getting better, though. Like, that they are starting to chip away at that, but I would like to see it crumbling down.
Well, most people don't even realize Obama tried to make that situation infinitely worse. Fucking with the TPP buried inside the TPP, which he basically burned his legacy trying to push the TPP through. And buried in there was this thing called the Evergreen Clause that would make it so every, you list one usage for a drug, for every additional usage that they end up listing for it, it's called, you get an extra. I think that they boosted it up to 15 years of no competition. So if you came up with the cure for cancer today, and then as soon as your patent started fucking wearing out, then you come in and you say, oh yeah, but this also helps with headaches or whatever other medical thing that you can come up with that is mixed into this. They automatically then repatent it, and it extends the next duration. That's why they call it the Evergreen Clause, because you could literally evergreen fucking medications at that point.
And that's backwards. Like, the point of our regulations should be to protect competition, not to protect companies from competition. That's how you get monopolies. Or oligopoly. Yeah, that's the right term. Oligopolies as well. Don't want those either. They're not as bad. Well, actually, some ways they're worse because they represent multiple firms, so it's harder to take them down.
Yeah. You end up with that.
I know what monopoly is, but
oligopoly.
What did you say?
Oligopoly is like where the barrier to enter a market is so high that only certain firms can actually enter it. A good example is like automobile manufacturing. Setting up a plant to produce automobiles is insanely expensive. So it's very difficult.
So it's almost like having a monopoly, but through different means.
Correct. It happens naturally sometimes. Like I was pointing out, the auto industry didn't set out to become an oligopoly. It just, over time, became too expensive to enter the market as a new automobile company.
And then the problem is sometimes it's not even just, or all the time basically, it's not even just the cost of the equipment. It's the cost of all the regulations
Yes.
and licensings and blah, 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 which they make basically impossible.
Well, that comes later. What you're
Yeah.
talking about is regulatory capture. That comes once the oligopolies or monopolies form and they want
Yeah.
to protect themselves. They start
Yeah.
paying the politicians to enact laws that sound great for us. That's some great sounding name.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be some sort of consumer protection law. But no, if you really dig into it, it's there to protect that company or that particular market from competition from newcomers. It's terrible. It raises prices. It stifles innovation. It's just bad all around. It's terrible economics.
Absolutely. And it's where most of our economics sits right now.
That's the thing. Like people tend to equate like economics with money. It's more about resource management. Money is just another one of the resources to be managed. Economics doesn't particularly care whether you have currency or not. It's about managing resources.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, we might talk in dollar signs, but what we're really talking about are transfer of resources.
And then also
Good
one
time.
of the things a lot of people don't understand that happens, like let's take the housing market right now. Because of the regulations, basically for a home builder, it costs almost as much to build a fancy house as it does to build a very simple single family starter home. They're spending damn near the same money to do the two things because the regulations and the permits are where you're spending so much of your money at. Well, then as a contractor, then, well, I can either spend $100,000 to get a home that I get $150,000 back for, or I can spend, let's say, $150,000 to build a home that I get $400,000 back for. Of course, I'm going to build the one that's going to get me the fucking $400,000 over and over. And so there is no building of these simple single family homes anymore.
I think it was Houston that's been seeing a building boom lately.
Yeah,
And
pull
it's
that up. when we
because
get-
I might have the city wrong, but I know it's a city in Texas, and they were having a housing problem, and they basically deregulated a lot of the zoning and everything like that, and boom, suddenly housing became a lot more available. Big shock, right?
Right. And this is what I've been that's the drum I bang when we talk about the housing crisis. It's not that that they need to fuck with the houses that are there. They need to deregulate so that way people can go out and build their cheap ass houses.
Yep.
So we've got some breaking news.
Do you think we should restart and rename the stream, or do you think we should keep going with this stream? I think we should probably end this one and restart it with the new name.
Yeah, we could. I don't know how long this is going to be, Ben, or this will last. They don't last, but maybe 15 minutes.
Well, we could just rename it manually. Go back in.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
Nobody's gonna know that we're watching this other fucking thing if we don't have it on the. Why would you?
I can do it. I can do it in StreamYard, or you can do it in StreamYard. One of the two. Just change it. And then I can change the thumbnail. This one's good. It is Capitol Hill, or I'm sorry, the Pentagon is seeking $80 billion more for the Iran war. They're about to have a press conference about it here shortly. So we will break in. I will break it in as it
I
goes
think we should
live.
I think we should just restart.
Okay, we're gonna restart, guys. We're gonna restart. Give me 3 minutes, and we're gonna restart. I'll have to send everybody a new link
because that's a hot subject that has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Sure. All right, we're gonna restart, guys. We will be back momentarily.
Spin City. Yeah. he don't back right. Clip it, post it, watch the chat explode. One more take, then he takes the road. He talks that talk with the grin and a stare. The other side's talking, he already there. Hold up, here he comes. Hands in the air, let the verdict come. No more hush, no more shade. Spin City live and the whole place sways. Spin City, he don't play it safe. Spin City, bringing fire to the face. MAGA on the mic, and he says what he means. Spin City, shaking up the scene. Panels in a circle, everybody wants a turn. He leans in hard, let the hot takes burn. Protest on the ticker, riot in the thread. He talks over the chaos with a raised up head. Yell a little louder, make the point land clean. Cut through the noise like a headline machine. If they come for the room, he comes right back. One more clash and the whole beat snaps. Hold up, here he comes. Hands in the air, let the verdict come. No more hush, no more shade. Spin City live and the whole place sways. Spin City, he don't play it safe. Spin City, bringing fire to the face. MAGA on the mic, and he says what he means. Spin City, shaking up the scene. When the mics get hot and the comments fly, he laughs at the noise and he